Hi there. I had a few requests for a tutorial on how to make this map fold accordion fold mini book, and so that's what's happening here. So the materials list you need are 2 pieces of long paper that are 15 1/4 by 3 3/4, 2 pieces that are 6 by 4, and 2 that are 4 1/4 by 2 1/4 inches. The long ones are the ones that you fold, the other scrap pieces are for the cover, and then the chipboard is what's going to go on the inside of the cover. To make 2 15 1/4 pieces, you do have to glue a couple together, and I was like, oh my gosh, my cutting board is only 12 inches long. What am I going to do? And so it just occurred to me that I just needed to take that seam and put it right at 3 1/4 so that it would be 12 plus 3 1/4 is 15 1/4. So I made it just a tad bit longer because there is a little bit of, where it overlaps where you glue it. So that was a little less than 1/4 inch, I think maybe 1/8 of an inch. And so I just made sure to add that a little bit to it as well before I chopped it off. And then I had my 2 long sheets. I'm going to start first with the cover pieces because I want to give them an opportunity to dry. Oh, I also wanted to mention that it's double-sided because you will be able to see the back sheets or the back of the piece of paper. For the covers, I'm just putting some glue on the chipboard and then gluing it as centered as I can on the scrap paper, and then burnishing it down really good and just doing that twice. And then I'm going to take some double-sided tape and put it all around the edges so that it folds over really nicely and I don't have to mess around a whole bunch with too much glue. Finished putting the tape on and burnishing it down really good. I'm just mitering the corners really quick, and then I'll peel the tape off, and I like to use the edge of the table, and so like kind of bend it over that way so I get a nice clean edge on it as I'm folding it over, and then just completely fold it over and then burnish it down really good so I have really good adhesion. Once I finished gluing it on and making sure it was all adhered appropriately, I noticed that there was one that was way centered than the other. So obviously the one that's better centered will be the top, and then the bottom one, I'm just putting a piece of ribbon right there in the center so that when I close the accordion book, it can tie closed nicely. And then I am going to run a seam around the edge of the whole cover, and reason one is because it just puts the ribbon, it adheres it really good and makes it so it's really strong. And the other reason is because I like the way it looks when there's a little seam on the outside of a cover. When you are working with that double-sided tape though, instead of glue, it does get a little gummy on the needle and the thread will break a little more often. So you can see this little cut scene here where you get a better view, but that was because the thread broke and it took a million years to rethread the needle. And so anyway, here I am zipping around. And then next, I'm going to take a little bit of netting and I'm going to put that on the cover of the top one because there is nothing like a shaker in my opinion. So I don't measure it out beforehand. I just cut a chunk off and sew the two sides of it, and then add the sequins or whatever kind of mix I want to put in there. And I don't mix it beforehand. I just put little spoonfuls in and hope it turns out nicely, and then finish sewing it and shake it around, and usually it looks pretty cute. Of course, you can forego all of the sewing and you don't have to put a shaker on the front. You can just use tape and glue, just tape, just glue, whatever you have and whatever works for you. The super cute pieces that I'm putting in my shaker come from Creative Mojo Wholesale Studio. She's got all kinds of kits. You can buy individual packets. I just happen to have subscribed to her monthly designer team kit, and so I was lucky enough to get a whole bunch of cute Valentine stuff to stick in there. Now I'm just trimming off the extra netting that's holding in the shaker pieces. There's no magical way to do it, but look how cute that is. All right, now it's time to fold some paper. I'm folding this so the middle fold points up, not down. And that's just the way it works for when you have to nest them together. And then it's just a straight up simple accordion fold, and making sure to fold everything as neatly as possible. If you have a bone folder, use one. If you don't have a bone folder, get a spoon and use that so that you have really sharp, clean edges on there. Do the same accordion fold for the back piece. Now I was planning on having the yellow be the piece that you could see when you look straight down on it, but I am not an expert at this. I am very brand spanking new, and so I don't have tricks and tips for making sure that it gets to the right place. I just end up refolding and folding and refolding it until I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do. But in the end, I ended up having the dark pink be the part that you could see, and the yellow was on the back. So whatever you want to take from that, just go with that, because I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Alrighty, now that we have the accordion fold ready to go, burnish that down so you've got some nice sharp edges. Now you're going to notice that you have 4 squares when you put those 2 rectangles together, and you are going to fold each of those 4 squares into an X, just like what I did there, making sure to line up the edges against the folds. I hope that makes sense. But there's 4 squares in this one, and you're going to fold each of the 4 squares into those X's. This part is called the map fold. So after you get all 4 squares, you have your X's in there, fold the tops and bottoms of the X's in, and the accordion fold, map fold, will just naturally start to fall into place until you get this cute little triangle that's nice and bouncy and has a good habit already of going back in. Now with this one, you're not going to fold the end rectangles. You're only going to fold the 3 middle squares. So that last rectangle will not have any X's or additional folds to it. It will be left plain. Just like before, once you have all of those X's in there, fold the bottom and the top in, and you will get this little sandwich, and burnish it down. And when you do this, when you open it up kind of, you can adjust any of the folds that might have been off. So you can see you have those two flat ends and then the little cups, but I realized that it didn't fit in, and so I flipped it over and it just kind of falls into place. Put some glue on the end triangle and glue it straight down onto there. It should, you know, be the same size. And like the height of it is the same, and glue that down. That's the only real serious glue that you need for putting the accordion together. You can, and I do, put a little dab of glue on each of the inside folds too, just to make it sturdy, and then squish it all together and burnish it down real good. The next step is to attach it to, if you want to add something in the middle, now is your moment. You need to make a square that is 3.75 by 3.75. I suggest making it slightly smaller and then just fold it to match the folds that are in there. All right, now let's do the cover. So the bottom cover is where the ribbon is, and make sure that all your directions are facing the right way. This is directional paper, so I just had to make sure that my cupcakes were pointing up and everything is as I wanted it to be. I'm going to go ahead and place that down and then take a peek and make sure that it is like all even Steven. I noticed that it had a little bit of wonkiness, and so I was able to slide it just a little bit and then burnish all of those pieces down. You can see that I'm sticking my bone folder into all the little nooks and crannies to make sure that I attach it really good. And then next up, I'm going to go ahead, put a little good intention into this accordion book like I try to do with my glue, and then I will attach this to the top layer, the top cover, and flip it over to make sure that it is all even, and I'm pretty much done. Burnish everything down, and then look at that. It's a cute little accordion book. Isn't that adorable?